And here we are, the final chapter of this very long and very arduous process. And with that comes our reward, finally, the feast. You're going to see the feast at the very end, but before the feast, we do have a little bit more work left, which is the processing of the meat and what we do in order to preserve it. And that's going to include, as you see here, making fresh and dry sausages, or in Bulgarian, lukanka, making ground pork, and what you see again here, our version of prosciutto, which is called in Bulgarian pastrma. But not everything we make out of the pig is edible. We also make traditional Bulgarian soap out of the pig fat. I think a lot of Bulgarians can relate to this one. So without further ado, welcome to a very Bulgarian Christmas, the finale.
Емили Стойчева, на здраве.
Емили Стойчева.
На здраве, на здраве, добре дошла.
Няма проблем. Няма проблем, окей.
Супер интересно.
Нали? Виж и такива.
All right. So for those of you who haven't seen parts 1, 2, and 3, this is Christmas Bulgarian style. And when I say Bulgarian style, I mean very traditionally out on the farm. And the way we celebrate is with the slaughter of the yearly pig, which is going to feed the family for the entire year. But if you haven't watched parts 1, 2, and 3, I would really suggest starting there. For today, I'm going to just jump right in and talk about finally the preparation of the feast. And that is what you see boiling in this giant pot. What we're going to have tonight is the traditional Bulgarian dish of pickled cabbage with pork. Guys, there really is nothing better than fresh pork with our homemade pickled cabbage. I'll leave a link in the description on how we make the pickled cabbage. It's pretty interesting. For now, let's stick to what you're seeing happening right now. So traditionally, the way it works is the men and myself stay outside and work on cleaning out the pig, the organs, everything, basically. I'm not going to go through it all. And we bring the meat inside for the women to start preparing for our lunch or dinner, depends how long the day is going to last. And as you can see, we take the meat, chop it into bits, and fry it in a big pot. This is actually quite small compared to what we usually do. There's not as many people. Fry it in a pot with oil. You can add a little bit of butter if you want, and have the cabbage boiling since the morning. So the cabbage has been boiling since 6 a.m. this morning. It's now around 12. You want to boil it on low heat. This is crucial because one thing Bulgarians hate is when the cabbage is not fully cooked properly or when it's too mushy. So the best way to do it is to put it on low heat and keep it boiling for a very long time. While our manja is cooking, let's take a look at how we're going to be preserving the meat to last for the whole year. One thing we're really big on is making ground pork. A lot of Bulgarian dishes include pork. And a tip I have for you guys is make sure you mix the meat with a good amount of fat so that it's not too dry. Once we've got that ground pork ready to go, we love to make lukanka in Bulgaria, lukanka and sujuk. Lukanka is like a salami. It's hard, but not as hard as sujuk. Sujuk is very hard. You can also leave some of them raw. So this one's going to be left raw. We're just going to pop it right into the freezer and you can take it out and grill it anytime.
Добре.
I personally love spicy, so I love to add some red hot chili peppers into some of mine. And if you want, you can also make fresh sausages with leeks. Very delicious. Now what you're seeing here is how we dry it. And no, mice don't get to them. We used to have this issue. We don't have mice problems anymore because we have cats. But before, when we did have mice issues, we would leave the string a lot longer and hang it onto the ceiling. And believe it or not, the mice really couldn't figure out how to get to them. So
Ти много бързо бягаш от работа обаче.
now let's talk about this beauty right here. This is actually the first time we've done it in the traditional prosciutto style with the whole leg. But what we normally do is we cut it up into little pieces like you see my cat stealing right here. And this is Bulgarian pastrma, which it's not exactly prosciutto, but close enough. Let me tease you with a little something to make your mouth water. I don't know. And now let's talk about the best soap you will ever use. And no, it does not smell like pig fat. My grandma actually mixes it with other little pieces of leftover soap that she's had, so it has a very good smell. But this is the best soap in the world to get any stains out of clothes. Trust me on that. And now for my weakness in life. This is shkimbe churba, my favorite thing on the planet. It's a Bulgarian tripe soup. Yes, it's made out of the stomach of it's usually a cow, but in this case, we've done it out of pig. It has, oh God, let's see here. Tripe, milk, oil, garlic, vinegar, black pepper, and a bunch of other stuff that sounds really gross mixed together. But trust me, guys, once you're hooked, you're hooked. Any other fellow Bulgarians out there, just let me know, but I'm sure you'll agree. Yep, and that there are the guys cleaning out the organs so that we can later make this delicious soup. What you're seeing is clearly not the stomach. Those are the lungs, but you guys get the idea. I'm going to show you something that is my other weakness in life. I actually, it's a tricky one there. I don't know which one I like better, but there is something that I think only butchers will know about. I'm curious. Let's see if you guys know what this is. Това е най-хубавото, да. Да. Но това цялото... Да, еги.
Това всичко е ядки.
Много яко.
Сега ще го направиш, ще го даде за мизе.
Добре. Дидо, разбра ли тайната коя е?
Мизето на поливача. Той го спри! На поливача.
Разбра ли? Момички!
Един път.
Аз не знаех, че прасето има момички. Any connoisseurs out there recognize what these are? Yes, these are, I think, the equivalent of sweetbreads. So in Bulgarian, we call these momichki. So momichki essentially translates to girls, which I know sounds really weird. The man in this video is referring to them as nuts, which also sounds really weird. But either way, these are the thymus glands of the animal. So it's found near the throat and the heart of the animal. And I think the ones near the heart are more sought after, but everything is unimaginably, I'm just drooling right now, unimaginably delicious. So when I was little on the farm, I'd go every summer with my grandpa, and the day came to slaughter the goat or one of the goats. I would look forward to these mumichki. And at first I was like, Grandpa, what is this? This looks really weird. But then I tried them and they are probably the best thing I've ever tasted. That was shkimbe churba. Now what you're seeing here are actually goat mumichki, which personally I think are much better than the pig mumichki. I think you can find these in veal, pork, and goats, and lambs. But I'm going to have to say that I think goat and lamb mumichki are much better than pig mumichki. The pig ones kind of, I don't know, they kind of had a weird flavor. That kind of tasted like poopy to me. I hate to say it. I know that sounds really bad, but they had this really weird flavor. So I read later that you have to prepare them a specific way. I'm sure when you do, they're delicious. But right off the bat, I'm used to my goat mumichki, and that's number one for me. What you're seeing here that looks like a horror movie is basically the skin that's left. You saw us carrying all those big fat pieces of pork fat in. And now the skin we're going to chop up. And this is another one of my favorites that is part of the skin and also basically pork fat with a tiny bit of meat. We call them prushki. Very bad for you, but this is something that my grandma and I cook all the time together. Yeah. Oh, and they go great. That's why I'm showing this. They go great with this, which is Bulgarian trushia. This is all pickled vegetables, pickled peppers, cabbage, carrots. You can even put garlic. And my mom yells at us for this, but my grandma and I can't resist. My uncle built this little mechana himself. Google is translating it as tavern, and he's explaining that it's still a work in progress, but it's a very traditional little structure that Bulgarians love to party in.
Значи, супер много съм доволен от цялото.
Ана, право, Мария.
Здравей, бицен, чакай.
Али ме
Да,
здраве
не
на
си
всички.
взел голо,
Ще опитам ко напред прозорци си на
Тя при
каравана.
майка отива.
Знаеш защо? Мисля да отрежа и да му сложа прозорци на каравана.
Remember that big pot of cabbage and pork that we were cooking? Well, here's the final result. I have no words. And as tradition dictates, we've also got the fresh liver on the table as meze for our homemade Bulgarian rakia. Na zdrave!